The Prewrath position argues that Jesus' statement that the Great Tribulation would be cut short is meaningless unless it means the tribulation is reduced to less than the 3.5 years described in Daniel and Revelation. But what if Jesus' own words actually point in the opposite direction? What if the grammar Jesus used already assumes the tribulation has been shortened to a fixed length before it even begins? If that's true, then the idea that it still needs to be shortened after it starts simply cannot stand. Let's read what Jesus actually said. Jesus' statement is recorded in Mark 13:20. Unless the Lord had shortened those days, no life would have been saved. But for the sake of the elect, whom he chose, he shortened the days. Mark 13:20. Notice something very important. The expressions had shortened and would have been saved are both presented in the aorist past tense, which speaks of future events that have already been completely settled, decided, and guaranteed. So, evidently, Mark presents the shortening of the Great Tribulation as an already accomplished divine event, an event that has already been shortened to a fixed length, with absolute divine certainty, even before the Great Tribulation starts. He does not present it as an event that still requires shortening after it has started. The very grammar Jesus used does not permit the Great Tribulation to require any further shortening once it begins. Matthew's account confirms the same truth. In Matthew 24:22, Matthew also uses the aorist form in his opening statement. He says, unless the Great Tribulation had been shortened, no one would have been saved. Just as Mark does, he presents the Great Tribulation as an event whose length has already been fixed, with divine certainty before it ever begins. Likewise, the statement, no life would have been saved, is also in the aorist form, showing what that already fixed duration accomplishes, which is, people will still be alive when the tribulation ends. Jesus' next statement, but for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short, is not a standalone statement. It is directly tied to his description of the Great Tribulation as an event that has already been shortened. If it had not been shortened, no one would have been saved. But for the sake of God's elect, the shortening that has already been determined by God will take place. So Mark and Matthew are not saying different things. They are saying exactly the same thing, just as Scripture does not contradict itself. This predetermined duration of the Great Tribulation is affirmed multiple times in Scripture. In Matthew 24:15-21, Jesus identified his tribulation with Daniel's. Both begin with the abomination of desolation, and both are described as the singular, unmatched worst tribulation in history when it begins. Daniel 11:31, Daniel 12:1-2. Two separate events can't both be the singular, unmatched, and worst tribulation in history at the time they start. Jesus' own words therefore prohibit separating his tribulation from Daniel's, and Scripture repeatedly says that this one great tribulation affects all mankind, not just the church or Israel, and gives its predetermined duration as 3.5 years, also expressed as 42 months or 1,260 days. Daniel 11-12, Revelation 11-13. That means Scripture itself already tells us exactly how long the shortened tribulation lasts. Additionally, Jesus himself said that he returns after the Great Tribulation has already ended, not that his return shortens the Great Tribulation and brings it to an end. Matthew 24:29-31. Since Jesus returns after the tribulation has already ended, his return cannot also be the event that ends it. So, the shortening of the Great Tribulation to a definite endpoint has to happen first, before the appearing of Jesus. And Scripture has already told us exactly what that shortened duration is, 1,260 days. Now the tension is resolved. When both Mark and Matthew are read carefully, including the aorist tense they both use, nothing in Jesus' words suggests the Great Tribulation still requires shortening after it begins. Instead, Jesus' own statements presents the shortening as an already set divine decision. His statements plainly reveal the tribulation will not continue indefinitely or without any check, since that will wipe out all humanity. But for the sake of God's elect, God has already fixed its duration. And throughout Daniel and Revelation, Scripture repeatedly tells us what that duration is: 3.5 years, 42 months, 1,260 days. Immediately after that tribulation come the cosmic signs in the sun, moon, stars, and heavens, and then Jesus appears. Exactly how long after those cosmic signs Jesus returns is not revealed in Scripture. Consequently, no one can predict the exact day or hour of his coming. But the length of the Great Tribulation itself is not left unspecified. Scripture gives it repeatedly. So here's the question. Are we interpreting Jesus' words according to exactly what he said, or are we using our own theological system? Sticking with just what Scripture says is how we are grounded in the truth to walk in victory in these last days. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And for more biblical resources on the end time, see the video description and the bio. God bless you.